Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. You are more than a conqueror radio show. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I am glad and I am rejoicing in it because I was able to see another Mother's Day, spend time with my family, my grandkids, and I am so excited, excited about that. And I pray all the mothers out there had a wonderful, awesome Mother's Day. And I want to say a happy belated Mother's Day to you. I know that Mother's Day is past, but still, every day to me should be Mother's Day because we really do a lot as mothers. And I am really excited about my guest tonight. Your radio hostess for the night, Cynthia Rucker, and I have a special guest tonight. Her name is Janae Adams. She is an internationally known speaker, author, and the CEO of EMET Consulting Company. This woman, I tell you, whew, when I tell you she has it going on, she has it going on. And I'm not going to go too much into her bio because I thought that I would just let her talk about it, but I do want to uh, read a little bit more about. She just recently released her second book, The Money Attractor, Everyone's Guide to Winning with Money. So that's what our topic is tonight, is on financial literacy. And you know I'm going to come with a scripture because, you know, the Bible speaks a lot about money. In Proverbs, there's a lot of instructions, and if we follow the instructions, we really will live a wealthy life. And it's in Proverbs 22:7. It says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." And I know I've had money issues. I've been still am trying to get myself out of debt and manage my finances better, and I really wanted her to come on to talk about this because we really, as God people, need to be in a position where we can bless the men and women of God. We can support the kingdom of God, or we can have our own household in order, that we can leave a legacy for our children, that they will not have to be in debt. So this is why I really want to have her on tonight to share some of her expertise. So she is the author of A Guide to Winning with Money so they can live their dreams. Her first book was Debt Sucks University, a college student's guide to winning with money so they can live their dreams. She has spoken on behalf of the White House, the Department of Education. She's been featured on Forbes magazine, BBC, CNBC, Huffington Post, Black Enterprise magazine, and the list goes on and on. So welcome, Janae Adams, to You Are More Than a Conqueror radio show. How are you today?
I'm doing good, and thank you for inviting me on.
Well, I am so excited. You just don't know. I am really trying to get my finances in order, and I know that you have a lot to talk about tonight, a lot to offer to the listeners. So just tell me a little bit more about yourself. You are a mother. I do know that. So how old is your daughter?
Yes, I'm a wife and a mother. I have two kids, and my daughter, she is 6 years old, and my son, he is 10 years old.
Okay, awesome. So you know what it means to be a parent, a wife, and all of that. So tell me, why did you want to talk about financial literacy? Talk to me about that.
Well, it actually just came by a layoff from a job in 2008. And so that was like the beginning of the financial crisis. And I got laid off, and then we realized we were $50,000 in debt. So it might have been nice if we realized that before I got laid off. but we realized it then. And so my son was 1 year old at the time, and we decided to really take the steps that I shared in both of my books to pay that $50,000 of debt off in 2 years. And as I was paying it off, towards the end, people kept asking me to come speak places. And I know the first one I did, my mother invited me to a women's retreat at her church. And actually it was like away in a hotel. And she said, well, can you come and just share some of the money tips that you do? And I went and did it. And then I kept doing it for about a few more months. And once I got paid, I said, well, maybe this can be a career choice. And it's just my passion now. And I love seeing people, the light bulb come on whenever I share the strategies for people to be able to get out of the debt they're in, be able to save money, build wealth. It's a passion for me now. So I think about it all day, all night. I wake up in the middle of the night, have ideas, and get up and write them down or do work. And so it's something I really love.
Wow, that is really awesome. I'm learning that our tragedies bring our triumph. Yes. And out of our pain or what we have gone through, we find our greatest victories. And sometimes when we're laid off from a job, it's time, God may have been pushing us to do other things, but we stay comfortable in our comfort zone. We don't stay, we don't step out of the boat per se. And so it's sometimes God has to push us out, to let us see, I want you to take a different direction. And see what some people do, and I'm so glad you talking about this, that when they lose a job or they get laid off or something, they look at, oh gosh, what has happened to me? Or, they become depressed and they look at the worst scenario of it. Then like, this can be a turning point for me. I can do something else. So you took advantage of it and started to see that God could use your tragedies as a triumph for you. So tell us, how did you do that? You said in 2 years, because that is a short period of time. It has taken some people several years to, get out of debt. So what are some of the tips that you did, Janae?
Well, the one I share with everybody that I think is the most important, and it's what we did the night I was laid off. We created what we called our dream sheet. And our dream sheet is our short, intermediate, and long-term dreams. So the short term is 6 to 12 months. Intermediate is 3 to 5 years, and long-term is 10 to 15 years from the time that you're getting out of debt and so forth. And this is what you want most out of life. It's where would you go, who would you help, and what would you do if money wasn't an issue. So it's definitely your most innermost dreams, because money doesn't matter. You're writing it down, and money doesn't matter. And so we wrote those dreams down. And I always tell people, because people ask me all the time, Janae, how what do I need to do to get out of debt? What do I need to do? No, people always ask me about the how, but then they don't ever think about the why. And so the dream sheet is the why. And so if you don't have the why in front of you, I can give you as many steps of what we did with the how. And once something bad goes wrong, or something happens with your car, then you'll quit everything and you'll stay in debt and so forth. So I tell people the most important part is the why, and that's the dream sheet. And once you get that done, that kept us out of restaurants for 2 years. That kept us off vacation for 2 years. Nobody got a gift for 2 years, not at Christmas, not birthday, nobody. So that's how things start to go a little bit faster, because in your mind you're saying to yourself, yeah, I'm going to say no for a little while, but I'm going to say yes for the rest of my life. And so that's the determination we had, and we're glad we did it.
Woo! I've heard so many people talk about steps and goals about getting out of debt. If I said a name right now, everyone would know who I'm speaking of. But I think you are the first person that used the strategy like that to put the why.
I haven't seen anybody else do it. Like you said, everybody just does the steps part, but they never put the motivation before there. And so whenever I'm talking in front of an audience, that's what we do first. is the dream sheet. And I tell them, I said, you won't do anything after this slide, which the dream sheet is on that slide, unless you have this down. If you're not serious about it, then about the dream sheet, you'll fail in everything I'm saying after this.
Well, let me ask you this. Say that you do have that why, you have that big why, because that is the biggest motivation, the why. Okay, why am I doing this? Why do I want to get out of debt? But you put it on your dream sheet. You're into it maybe 3 months, and something comes up that you fall back. What advice do you give to that person?
And their lead, the steps is after the dream sheet, then they're leading up to see exactly what they're spending their money on. And right after that, they're finding out, once you find out what you're spending your money on each month, what can you cut out or cut back? And then that money that you're saving from cutting out or cut back, and which is done, like you find that out within the first 2 weeks of the process. And you're starting to cut things out, cut things back. And then that money you're saving, you're using to build up what I call an in case you're a breathing fund. So by 3 months, your in case you're a breathing fund should be nice enough that if you need new tires or you need new brakes, you should have at least $500 within 3 months because you cut back on the cable. You cut back on something else that you spend money on, and that's saving you like $200 a month. So in 3 months, you should have about $600 saved up. And so I like people to have about $1,500 to $2,000 saved. So when those times come, that you're not going deeper into debt. Yes, you have to give out $300 for some brakes, but then you're going to build it right back up. There's no stress there because the in case you're breathing fund is right there to catch you in those times. And yes, you had a setback, but guess what? It's okay. It's not like the other times when you had to go borrow money to fix your brakes and so forth. So it's just letting people know there is progress even though you had a setback.
Wow. Because setbacks do come, and you have given them a way to. So when you have, because I want to make it as plain, because they don't have the visual. We're internet radio, so we're going to have to really make sure they can see what you're seeing in their minds. So you have the dream sheet. So you're going to put the why. Whatever it may be. I want to, whatever your why may be, going to Paris or something. But then that's going to be your motivation. So you're saying that the next step will see what you can cut back. Is that a form that they use to track that spending?
Yeah. And so what it is basically for 2 weeks, this is what I call tracking your expenses for 2 weeks. And you're starting on the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month. And so the 15th is pretty much here. So if your listeners wanted to start, they could. And for 2 weeks, you'll track every penny that comes out of your pocket. And, of course, all the big bills would be there, your mortgage or apartment rent, your cell phone. All of those usually come due on the 1st of the month or the 15th, and that's why I picked those dates. And then during those 2 weeks, you'll get the rest of the smaller ones. So if you have a car, save your gas receipt. So when you go to the gas station, you got $20 of gas, you need to save that gas receipt. If you go into the gas station and get a can of soda or a bottle of soda for $1, then that receipt needs to be kept. Every penny must be tracked for those 2 weeks. If you have children, you pay for their lunch. That needs to be written down. Pay for school pictures, field trips. Anything that takes a penny out of your household must be recorded for those 2 weeks. And then once the 2 weeks are over, then you're getting what I call a spending plan together. And the spending plan is what people call a budget. Now, I don't call it a budget because people freeze up when they hear that word. So I say it's just a plan to spend your money. And that is where those 2 weeks come in. Those 2 weeks. So if you spent, let's say, $80 on gas in 2 weeks, that means your household spends $160 in a month. And so you'll write it down. And you'll have your income at the top and then all those expenses at the bottom. And then now you have a roadmap of what you're spending your money on every month. And now you're starting to see, okay, I spent $300 eating out this month as a family or as two people. So how can we cut back on this so that instead of it being 300, it's 150 or it's 100? Now, just like that, on just cutting back on dining out, they save probably about $200.
Right.
And that goes into the in case you're a breathing fund. So now we're caught up to that person who's saying that I never have money to save or I never have money to put away in case something happens. That's how you get the money.
Wow, I really like that, because I know I was in a class where, you talked about the budgeting and you tracked your spending, but it's nothing like that, because you saying for 2 weeks you're telling the person, okay, track everything that you're doing so they can so you can see what you're doing. But then you start looking, you take that, and you're able to clearly say, okay, I can cut back on, like you said, cut back on the sodas or cut back on eating out. And it gives, because what you're saying, you're moving one category to another category for them to be able to see, I can save this, because you have your why here. This is just like a person that's wanting to lose weight. They see themselves as this smaller person, but if they can't see why they're doing it, then they won't stay motivated to do it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
How long do you ask a person to stay in this process? I heard you say that they, check for 2 weeks, and then how long will they stay? I did hear you say that they can stay. You would love for them to save $1,600 or $1,200 or something like that.
$1,500 to $2,000. That's what I would like them to save before they start paying off debt. So a lot of people are ready to jump in there and start paying off a credit card or a student loan. No, you need to have a cushion under you first before you start doing that. And so that's why I say $1,500 to $2,000, because if someone has a house, for example, if the water heater goes out or you need a plumbing done, or that can easily run you $1,000. So if people are not living in those kind of big expenses, they may be able to get away with $500. They just need to think about past expenses. If they've had anything that was $800, $900, they need to go up to that $1,500 to $2,000, because we don't want people to get discouraged that they don't have enough money saved up and they have to still borrow money. So that's why I say $1,500 to $2,000 saved up before you start paying off debt, because that'll cover any kind of issues you may have. And the timetable for people to, let's say, pay off the debt that they may have, that depends on how much debt they have in the first place, how much money they're making, and also most importantly, their determination. Like that's most important. Yeah, because some people who have, I was laid off, so my back was against the wall. A lot of people who have careers and jobs, if the money, like that was our problem. Everybody was getting paid every day, and so we were in our heads we were good until I got laid off. And so if people are able to pay their bills, they're comfortable. And so they may not pay it off as fast as we did because they're in a comfortable state. So that determination is important.
You said a very key word, determination, because I know I have been guilty that, this sounds good. See something that I want to do. This sounds really good. And then once I get into it, I start backing away. I start losing interest in the project or whatever I started out doing. But what I'm hearing with this also, Janae, is not only determination, but this takes a lot of discipline.
Yes.
And a lot of people sometimes, don't, because you said you cut back a lot. You said you didn't go out to eat. You didn't even buy gifts.
Yeah.
We're living in a era of where people, like, not saying anything is wrong with getting gifts for mothers. I'm not, because I am. I love to get gifts also. At Christmas we love to give gifts and receive gifts. Some of us are. So to say that, how did your children handle that, knowing that they would not getting any gifts at Christmas?
At the time, my son was about 1 or 2, and for both years. And when your kids are small, and they can be even 3 or 4, and you have grandparents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, especially when it's a first child, second child, they shower kids with gifts. And they just do. And no matter where you tell them, don't buy all of that, they're going to still buy it. So in our heads, we were like, this is more important for him in the future, what we're doing, than some toy. And a lot of adults don't understand that kids understand delayed gratification even better than adults do. And I tell people with the dream sheet, even if you have a 4-year-old in your house, they get to have a dream on the dream sheet in every section. Because if they put in a section 3 to 5 years in the intermediate that they want to have their birthday party or they want to go to Disney World for their birthday, the next time you're in Target or Walmart and they ask for a toy, you ask them, do you want this toy or do you want to go to Disney World? They will say Disney World every time because they understand. And I know with both of my kids, it's all the time. You want this or that. And it's always going to be their dream more than they want that toy. Because if everybody that has got, Christmas not long past, even people's birthdays, just think about the stuff that you have bought for your kids or somebody else bought for them. And are they even playing with it today? Or are they even playing with it a week afterwards?
Right.
So just think about the money that was wasted, and it's great to see people's faces on that day. But what about in the future when you didn't save for college? But they got all these toys and all these pictures of gifts around the trees for 8 years, and now they don't have any college funds. It's just a different way of thinking.
You're right. It is a different way of thinking because we have been programmed. I hate to say it like that, but that you have to celebrate these holidays, and it's so ironic that we're discussing this at this time because my daughter and I was just discussing the same thing, and she had posted on Facebook just recently, just yesterday, that she is at a point in her life that she does not want to give gifts anymore. And I was like, well, you don't want to give me a gift, but, when you started sharing what you just shared and the perspective, it has helped me to truly understand her position on that because, I definitely did not leave a great legacy, and I'm just being transparent with everyone, a great legacy financially for my children. And I definitely want my daughter, is really good. She coupons. My youngest daughter, she coupons and has helped me. But my oldest daughter, she's kind of trying to learn. And her son, he loves to get, things. And I'm trying to let him understand you have to be thankful that you're even getting, because so many children nowadays, they feel like they're entitled to things, and their parents are working so hard in trying to please them in certain things. So, I want to be able to, although I did not leave the financial legacy there, but I want to bring the understanding of how important it is to value money.
Yeah. And I think every generation gets better with it. And my generation and the one coming after us, we have a better opportunity than our parents and grandparents because of the salaries we have now and the money that is now available and opportunities that are now available. So we have no excuses. Then, our parents and grandparents, you all came through a different era than we did. We don't have an excuse. If our children don't go to school with college fund, that is our fault. Because you see my generation and generation after me, because of social media, it tells on us.
Right.
And you see people on trips, you see people buying things, and then when it comes to their child gets 16 or 17, it's like, oh, how I'm going to get you to school? Well, that money was, even if you put $1,000 into a college fund and let it grow, you would have been able to do it, but our generation has no excuse about that, and so you have to make hard hard choices, and you have to say, do I care what other people say about what my children have on or something? They have on clothes. Their shoes don't have holes in them. They're just fine. And I try to instill that into my children and don't let it become materialistic. And so far it's been going pretty good. But it's going to be a consistent battle, especially as my son goes to middle school and then high school and so forth, just to help them understand. And that's one thing I did. Like for the 2 years, we didn't get gifts. Mama didn't get a gift. Mother-in-law, nobody got gifts. And now, I mean, me and my husband are used to it now. Like yesterday, he got me a card for Mother's Day. I was just fine with that. No problem. Because we're doing other things that all year round. But I told my son, he asked me a few years ago, Mommy, can I have a PlayStation or something? And this, I think he was in 3rd grade. And I said, no, because he already has another system that was his dad's, but he shared with him. And he said, well, all my friends have one. And I said, JR, did your friends ride a horse in the Costa Rican jungle? And he said, no. I said, exactly. He said, I told him, I said, I'm not worried about PlayStations. I'm worried about experiences with you. And that's what your friends can never say. And so it helps them understand what's bigger. Like, we want to go do these kind of things. We don't want to be like everybody else. We don't care about a PlayStation. We care about going to different countries. And he and my daughter have traveled to different places all over the country, as well as Jamaica and Costa Rica. I think that's all they've been internationally together.
And see, memories like that, nobody can take away from you. No one can take that away from, and he's going to be able to share that as he gets older, that I had these experiences versus, like you said, because one day he will outgrow the PlayStation or whatever, and those type of things are so important to, as you're growing up, to have, as an adult. What is the biggest, when you're working with someone, I know it says in your bio that you go to universities and high schools. What has been the biggest obstacle that you see with some people that, want to get out of debt?
It doesn't matter whether I'm at a corporation, high school, college. It's really, for everybody, it's about knowing where the money is. Like, everybody, as soon as I put up the slide, you got to ask yourself, where did my money go? And I said, if you have more months than money, there's a hole in your financial boat. And everybody in the room resonates with that, because whether you live in paycheck to paycheck or not, or you're a student or so forth, there have been plenty of times that you had this money, and then all of a sudden it ain't there no more. And you're like, what did I buy? And so that is, I think, the biggest obstacle of people is trying to figure out where the money is, because the money's there. It's just that's where the 2-week expense tracking helps a lot of people. And every time people get back to me, they say, man, I was eating out too much. And I cut that back. One lady said she saved $3,000 in 3 months from not eating out.
Wow.
And she just had to find the money. She said, I heard you speak in January, and it was March then. She said, I done saved $1,000 a month.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Whew, that is, wow. The word tells us to renew our mind, and this is what this is about, renewing our mind, that we thought that this is the way we had to live. And when we have, God gives someone like yourself, an expert, to show us that we can have a different mindset. It's like knowledge coming to us, revelation rather, that's coming to us to know that like the word says, I've been a slave to the borrower. And that's what is so important, that, when we're in debt, it causes so many problems in the home, so many problems with a person, individual. It just creates so division in the home. So I'm so glad to be able to have you here to talk about this, but we're going to come back. We're going to listen to Greater is Coming, because Greater is Coming, because Janae is telling us how to get out of debt. So Greater is Coming. We're going to listen to this song. I'll be right back with Janae.
If it had not been for the shaking, I never would have been ready for the making. No. If it had not been for the beating, I would have never knew how anointed I would be. Oh yeah. If it had not been for the pressing, I wouldn't be able to walk into my destiny. He's preparing me, preparing me, preparing me for greater. I feel a shaking in the spirit. I feel a beating in the spirit. Oh, I feel a pressing in the spirit, preparing me for greater. I feel a shaking in the spirit. Oh, I feel a beating in the spirit. Oh yeah, I feel a pressing in the spirit, preparing me for greater. If it had not been for the shaking, I never would have been ready for the making. If it had not been for the beating, if it had not been for the beating, oh, I would have known how anointed I would be. If it had not been, if it had not been for the press, I wouldn't be able to walk. Yes, He's allowing it to. Oh, He's preparing me for my greater. Yeah, I feel a shaking in the spirit. I feel.
Amen. I feel a shaking in the spirit for me to learn how to get out of debt. I'm taking this advice. I'm learning from her tonight. This has been awesome for me. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm telling you, Janae, I am truly blessed to have you because, you know, there's nothing like being free. It's nothing like being free. And when you're free in your finances, it's a different type of freedom. And I'm sure when your children grow up to see what you have the consulting firm to take over, they're going to really appreciate this, that my mother gave me this foundation, my parents gave me this foundation, that I don't have to be in debt. There's nothing like it. So I really appreciate God using you to give your expertise on this matter. But before I go any further, and I'm glad we had the break because I was all in this conversation, and I need to for you to give your contact information so people can know how to get in contact with you.
Yes, my website is DEBT, D-E-B-T, Sucks University, S-U-C-K-S, and then, of course, university.com. That's where you can find a lot of information. And follow me on Instagram. It's probably the best where you can keep up with everything, and that is Janae Adams Speak, and it's spelled like Janet, JanetAdamsSpeaks. So Janae Adams Speak on Instagram will get you to everything that I'm doing and to every other platform.
Wow. So how long have you been speaking on this subject?
This is my 7th year in business.
And look how, wow. And I can hear in your voice that you really enjoy what you're doing.
Yes, definitely. I love seeing people, like I said, the light bulb come on and they're like, oh, that's how I do it. And then, the different testimonials that I get for the amount of debt people have paid off or they have been able to save and so forth, whether it's for them or them and their family. So it's definitely a blessing to do it.
It really is, and you go because you just was out of town recently. Am I correct? Just um,
Yes, yes, and I'm trying to think where I was. Oh, yeah, I was in. I went to. It was in Illinois. I'm trying to think. I went to Illinois twice in a week and a couple of days to speak, and one of them was the University of Illinois at Springfield, and the other one was John A. Logan College. So I spoke both places within a week and a couple of days. I flew back and forth to Missouri, to St. Louis, to go to those speaking engagements. But the spring and fall time is very busy for me, and this month is actually a month that I didn't have a speaking engagement that I had to leave town for, so that was good. So I won't start back up until June.
Wow, that is really awesome. And the biggest thing that I'm really happy and excited that you're reaching the high school students, because I know when I attended college, I don't know why credit card companies do this, but they target college students with credit cards.
Yeah.
So if you can teach them, before they get into college, to know that you don't have to have a credit card, that is really awesome.
Yeah, and the great thing about it now, in 2009, a rule came out that they can't do that anymore. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau doesn't allow them to come on college campuses anymore, and you have to be 21 to get a credit card now unless you have a cosigner. So that it has been some great changes, because even when I was in college, a lot of people got into debt because of credit cards, because of a free piece or a free T-shirt that they were handing out. So the good thing is they don't have to worry about that anymore. But a lot of students that get to hear me, whether it's in high school or college, they get that message, and they get to see exactly what a credit score is made up. And then I tell them, I say, you choose if you want to play this game or not. And all of them were smart enough. They're like, nope, not playing that game.
Right.
And I know, like, many people, and whenever I'm speaking in an audience, and anybody that's been out in the world long enough, so those of us that are 30 and up, we have fallen into that whole credit score is important part. But then we need to think about back to our grandmothers and great-grandmothers, and they didn't have credit. They saved their money and bought what they needed. So obviously it's not always been there.
Wow. So you just made a statement that I want you to kind of back up on. You said that the credit score is not important. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, people can buy a house, they can buy a car, they can get whatever they want. Basically, with cars, which most of the students want to know about, how am I going to get a car without a credit score? You're going to save up your money. You're not going to buy a $20,000 car. So I tell them, I say, you think about how much a car costs each month to pay for. And I say, you save that each month. So let's say it's $400. They'll name that. And I'll say, okay, in 10 months, you save $400. You got $4,000. You can definitely get a car to get you from point A to point B for $4,000, even $3,000. And I said, when you go with cash, it doesn't matter about a credit score. In fact, you're in control, because you can negotiate the car down because you got money. And then, of course, with homes, they have to go with a 20% down payment. And that's the reason credit works, and it keeps so many people in bondage in America, is because we're impatient. We want to go and get a house with no money down. And we want to get a house that we really can't afford with no money down. And then we want to get the car that's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, so we can impress other people. We want to buy certain kind of clothes, and that's why you have to have credit, because you don't have the money. It just keeps you in bondage. It makes you keep trying to figure out, how can I get my credit again? How to get my credit again? And you put so much pressure on yourself trying to do that pressure and that energy could have been used to build wealth. It's plenty of people who have zero credit scores. In fact, it's about 50 million Americans who have zero credit scores. So that means they owe nobody any money, and that's why they have a zero credit score. And so when you don't owe anybody money, they can't find you, and so they can't score you. And so when people, and it's mostly what I call adults say, well, why are you telling these students this? I'm like, it's 50 million Americans with a 0 credit score, so it's not impossible. And then when I tell them that their grandparents didn't have it, and grandparents that had the same skin color as you and I had definitely didn't have it and wasn't given to them. They had to save their money. So why can't we go back to our grandparents and great-grandparents who had delayed gratification down to a T and save our money and get what we can get? 20% down payment on a $100,000 house is $20,000. And these students are coming out making $60,000 or $70,000 a year. You can't tell me in 2 years you can't save $20,000. Come on.
Wow,
Yeah,
Janae, you. Ooh, girl, I am, like I said, taking a class on financial literacy, and this person speaks on the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying, delayed gratification. It is so against the norm. It really is. It's so against the norm because so many people, like you said, want to impress. I got the biggest car. I have the nicest car. And they feel like I have to go in all this debt to get it. And it is a slave to the borrower. So how when you tell a 18-year-old to delay your gratification and save your money, when you speak to a person that age on that, what is the response from him or her on that? Because I can see most of the young guys like, I don't want to,
And that's what makes the dream sheet so important at first, because that's what makes them do everything else, and the delayed gratification part, because they've already taken time out, whether it's high school student or college student, they've already taken the time out to fill out part of that sheet, and they've shared it with me because I'll ask you to raise your hand. So I already know on that sheet is more important to you than some car, because instead of you paying $400 to a car payment like we were doing with that Chrysler that was half of the $50,000. Guess what? Instead of you paying $400, you can use that $400 and get across the water for a trip, because I can show you how to find the discounted flight. And you can be in Italy next week for $400. When they have those dreams down there, then that's what keeps them from saying, you know what, I don't really care what kind of car I got, because while you're sitting here in your nice car, I'm traveling the world.
Right.
So that's how they,
Let me get you to give your contact, because I want to make sure people hear and able to write down your contact, because this is so important. You have enlightened me a lot with your information. And I'll tell you why. I have a cousin. She lives in Florida now, but she works for the government, and she has always lived by your principles. But her children, every last one of her children, she has 3, they travel the world.
Oh, really?
They're grown, they travel. She lives in a retirement home now with her husband in Florida. So, we get to see pictures from where they travel, but, it's because of what you're seeing that they have put in place. And I know that I have a cousin and we started doing vision board parties. So when we had put that on Facebook that we're doing that, this particular cousin of mine said, I've been doing vision boards for a long time. So we could see her, because what you're saying, you have your vision with your dream sheet. You have your vision here. And this, you're going to do the steps of, tracking your spending, putting aside this monies, cutting back and putting aside the monies to have your vision. I have your goal. So you get, and it is, it's just a different mindset. It really is. So please give your contact information again.
Okay, so the website is DEBT, DEBT, Sucks University. And then, of course, my Instagram, where people can find me, is Janae Adams Speak. So that's JANETADAMSSPEAKS. And if you put that into Google, that account everything comes up. And you put my name, Janae Adams, inside of Google, so many articles come up to help people with their money, as well as the website also.
Wow. I tell you, I am so glad to hear a woman, that we are really, because we are the root of our household, and to go forth and say, okay, it's time to get our households back.
Yeah.
It's time, because finances, as you know, is a big, brings a lot of frustration and division within a husband and wife. It really does.
Yeah.
When it's hard to get on one accord if your mate is not on one accord with you in your finances,
Yeah.
So do you speak to a lot of couples on that? We've talked a lot about the high school students and college students, but do you speak to couples?
Yeah, so whenever I speak of corporations, of course, it's one of the spouses there, one of the people within the couple that is there. And so the question I get asked a lot is always, well, I'm going to be on board with this, but it's going to be hard to get him or hard to get her to do it because we tried it before and it didn't work. And I always tell them it always comes back to the dream sheet, because more than likely that person told their spouse that, hey, we're going to do this, and I want you to do this, and they're putting all these restrictions on this person, but not showing them the why behind it. So if you're not using their dreams in front of them, and it just looks like we're doing all of this for you and not us, then they're not going to do it anyway. And so the dream sheet, that's why it's so important, and it's at the root of everything. So if, let's say it was a woman that heard me speak, and she's trying to get her husband on board. A spouse knows the most about that other spouse than anybody else. So if he's been talking about being on the 50-yard line at the Panthers game in the fall or whatever, then guess what? That should be on the dream sheet. And now he'll be fine with cutting back cable. And he doesn't have the sports channel anymore because he's going to be on the 50-yard line in 6 months. So that you have to, and I tell them that all the time, so you can't force anything down their throat if you're not going to give them the why first. Because nobody is going to do things that's not in their best interest. So you have to play it that way whenever it's dealing with a spouse. So whenever I speak at corporations, whenever I get that question, which I do all the time, I make sure that I share that with them. And even in my book, The Money Attractor, I actually put that question in the back and talked about how to solve that problem, because I get asked so many times about it.
The way you have, like I said, I know a well-known financial literacy consultant, but they do not put it in the strategy like you do, because the why is the biggest factor in what you're doing, because like you said, you'll be determined in doing this and sticking with it, being discipled in, okay, I want, like you said, Panthers game, they're going to stick to it. Or if whatever the why is, they will stick to it. They're going to come together. And I'm sure you may have gotten testimonies of, like, my husband and I, we bonded more together, because this has to bring husband and wives closer together, to be able to communicate even better.
Yeah, because you come together as one, which is what they say the preacher said on your wedding day anyway. So when you became one, your debt became one too. Like whatever debt you all have separately is now one, and you all have to pay it off together, and it goes a lot faster if you're both on the same page. That's how it goes much faster, because you're both fine with cutting things back or cutting things out. You're both fine with not going out to eat or going on vacation. You're both fine because you know what we're striving for together. And so when you reach it together, you're like, we did this together. And that means if we can overcome this, we can overcome a lot of things, because money fights and money problems is number one cause of divorce. So you get through that, you can get through a lot of things.
And that's the biggest key. It is the biggest reason why couples divorce is over finances.
Yeah.
And so you're combating a bondage even for couples, not just for students, but for couples to, you know, learn that because finances, when you're dating someone, you really don't talk. Well, you should talk about finances and how you spend, but most couples don't discuss that.
No, they don't.
So when you get married and you see her spending habit and you notice his spending habit, then that becomes a big issue.
And it was there before you got married. It's just that you were the benefactor of it. And so now you have a household where y'all got to both pay for things, and you need that money that he or she used to spend on you, and now you're trying to get them to stop it. But you were fine with it when they were in their own apartment spending all that money on you and putting themselves in bondage, and now all y'all, now you both are, because now you can't stop them from doing it.
Wow, you stepped on some toes. You stepped on some toes with that one, because women, we're guilty of wanting to be the benefactor of the gifts that they buy for us. So yes, you stepped on some toes with that one. Let's talk a little bit about college students.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're in college, how they're not working. Most college students don't work.
Mm-hmm.
How do you present that to a college student?
I'm just showing them how to use their hobbies that they usually do for free to make some money. I was a tennis player on scholarship, which means I could not work, and so I did other things. I sold chips that my mom bought me for snacks that I didn't want, sold them for $1 a piece. I tell people, if you're good in sports, even if you're not playing at that college, you know more than a third grade in elementary in that city. Why don't you put up some flyers and charge $25 an hour to show a football technique or a basketball training, or tennis. Same thing with artwork and arts and crafts, babysitting, all this stuff that you can do on your own time and make a little bit of money just to buy books or to do whatever you want to have some spending money, so you don't have to put a burden on your parents or parent to keep sending you money. That's how you can get your own money, just doing things on the side.
Wow. Because most college students, when they're in college, depend on mommy or daddy to provide. So you're saying you can do things that will not take away from studying, that you can make money. I heard you say that you got scholarships while you were in college. So talk a little bit about student loans. Do you discuss that?
Yeah, whenever I'm on a college campus, they find out my story is different than theirs, because whenever they promote my program, it makes people think that I got student loan debt out of college. But no, I went to school for free on tennis. That $50,000 in debt came after college, and then that makes them wake up, because a lot of them sitting in the audience are like, wait a minute, I already have $20,000. She came out with zero and still got in $50,000. That means I can get $50,000 more, and that makes them sit up. And even the student athletes or the academic scholarship people in the room, that they're in their heads, they're like, we don't need to be here. She came out with student loan debt. Then they find out I'm like them, and then they wake up, and they're like, wait a minute, she's like I am, and she ended up like that. So I need to pay attention, so it touches everybody in the audience. And so I tell them that, and this is for everybody that's listening, debt is debt. It don't matter if it's student loans, it don't matter if car loans, credit cards. It's a dollar amount that you owe somebody. You need to pay it off. Or you're going to, with student loans, you're going to get your paycheck garnished, and you're going to get your tax refund taken. They're going to get their money. And those that are in student loans, including parents who have Parent Plus loans, please understand that you can't bankrupt them. And if you die, everything that you own has to stand for what you owe with them student loans. So there can be a parent that has a Parent Plus loan, student loan that they took out for their child. they could pass away and they own their house, but that child or whoever is over that estate is going to have to sell that house to pay that student loan off. That's how serious it is. So when college students hear that, they're like, "Oh, I better get my life together because I can't get rid of this stuff unless I pay it." And then that's when they wake up. And then I show them exactly this is how you're going to pay it off fast.
So you saying that there is a way to pay student loans off fast?
Yeah,
Why?
because it's just like any other debt a person has. So with the college students, let's say that there is some juniors and seniors in the audience. I say, well, seniors, like the ones that just graduated recently over the last 2 weeks, let's say they come out making $3,000 a month, and I say, why you can live off $1,500 a month, and then now you got $1,500 a month to pay towards student loans. So in a year, you done paid $18,000 for your student loans, and then the light bulb goes off on them, and they're like, huh. I tell them, I say, you live like a college student for the last 2 or 4 years. What's a few more years? You ain't have no money for the last 2 or 4 years, and now you're making $3,000 a month. You can live off $1,500 and be just fine. And then in a year or two, all your student loans will be gone.
Wow. This has been some awesome information, awesome information. So, again, I want you to give your contact because we're winding down to this is going by so quickly. Yeah. And that's why I keep asking so that I can make sure if anyone wants to write down your contact information, that they have the opportunity, if they miss it the first time, the second time, they're able to get it again. So give your contact information again, please.
Yeah, so they can find all my information definitely on DEBT, sucksuniversity.com. And, of course, following me on Instagram, Janae Adams Speak. So that's JANETADAMSSPEAK. And that's where, if you follow me on Instagram or go to the website, you'll get everything you need, any products and so forth. And, of course, my book, The Money Attractor, is on Amazon.
Well, I tell you, Janae, I'm thinking when you were talking about my son, and he's a pretty good steward, but he's married, and I definitely would want to get your book for him because couples, I don't care how good they have with their finances, they can always learn more.
Yeah.
And this is what I want for him. So it's just been really awesome to hear how you give these awesome presentations to every level of from high school, college, adults, corporations, nonprofit, anybody can learn from, and that's awesome because everybody can't present information well, and for everybody to be able to learn from it. I always love what my pastor says, my bishop says, that, when you can break it down, that even a child can understand it, you're breaking it down to the simplest form, and that's what you have done, because when you have a motivation that you're wanting to work towards, like you said, that why there, that vision there will get you disciplined. It will get you determined to do it. And I know for me, I've had several. You've given me more information to work towards my goals more financially because, like I said, I didn't do it in my earlier years, but now I definitely want to be able to pass it down, what I'm gaining, the knowledge I'm gaining, to my grandchildren and to my daughters, and so that they will continue on with their children, because that's what it's about. We have to leave a better legacy. We have to leave a better legacy for our children and grandchildren, and I'm speaking from my generation. So thank you so much. Our time has ended. Thank you so much. And I definitely, in the near future, when you're not busy, have you back soon.
Okay, sounds good. And thank you for having me, too.
You're quite welcome. We'll talk soon. Good night, everyone.
Good night.